I'm not in college. I'm 28.
He's a grown-ass man, okay? He's not at college. Harry stars at the world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival for My Policeman with Emma Corrin and the rest of the cast and crew. He may not have attended the premiere, but he was all over the press conference. Right, guys, it's Flip Your Wig. I'm Max. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss a video. And please do subscribe. Okay, so are you ready for this film? There's been mixed reviews for Don't Worry Darling and all the hoo-ha between Olivia Wilde, Florence Pugh, and I don't know, Harry and Chris Pine and Spitgate, which didn't really happen. Let's hope this one goes a little bit smoother for him. Right, you're going to hear from Harry, also from Emma Corrin and the rest of the cast and crew. But first, take a look at the film. It's called My Policeman.
I want to tell you how much I love you.
This love is all-consuming.
Well, what first drew me to the story was, I guess, a personal connection of some kind, because I was born into the England that is represented at the start of this film. And as a gay man, that meant a great deal, obviously, because in the last 60 years, we've made an incredible change to what it was like then. The law was changed in 1967. There was then at least a generation of kind of continued prejudice, but slowly things started to change, things started to move forward, and the world we find ourselves in now is very different to the one that's represented in the film in 1957. Although for the first time in my life, I think that is a little fragile at the moment, and that is part of what drew me to this film, because I felt the film is many things, but it is great when a film can be part of a debate. And I think, certainly I hope My Policeman can be part of a debate that's going on right now.
I think what initially drew me to the script is, I think it's quite a, it's obviously like the themes in the film, I think, you know, it's based in two different kind of time settings, but I think the general themes are incredibly timeless. I think that's why the film works so well. I think, you know, the themes of love and freedom and the kind of search for that is incredibly relevant.
Yes. Come with me, my love.
I think similarly for me, very relatable in many ways. Yeah, everyone's flaws and like the nuance and complexity of these young people working, like living in a very strange time and trying to figure out who they are. Yeah, and I think I really like the joy that they find amongst themselves as a trio and the joy in that friendship. I know that that's something we spoke about a lot in rehearsal. And then also that juxtaposed with like the tragedy in the end and like, yeah, everything that they go through. I liked that there were those two sides of that.
You know, around sex in particular and sexual relationships being, you know, shrouded in kind of fear for a man in that time, for Tom, for example, and fear and shame and all these things that you don't necessarily know that much about if you don't encounter other, you know, homosexual men at that time. It's, for someone like Tom, it's all of his feelings towards men I would imagine feel just so foreign. So, yeah, I think just kind of anytime it's that complex and you're getting to play with like actual nuanced kind of human emotion is really nice.
Kind of true that we become different people later in life, and what Harry brings is this, he naturally brings us, I think, sort of innocence and a sense of wonder. It's not naive, but he's very present in that, and he's got it's a moment in time where there's so much potential. It's colourful. There's so much of a future that's there.
I think the nicest thing about kind of our three characters is kind of echoing what Emma said, but I think despite all the complexity and you know, the kind of deceiving nature of like a lot of aspects of the kind of triangle between them. There's also just a lot of like very real friendship, I think, as well. I think, you know, Tom's love for Marion is very real, and Tom's love for Patrick is very real, and I think that part of why it's so painful in the story is because I think Marion and Patrick are actually very good friends, and there's like a very real love there as well.
He was always in your life, in our lives.
I think I was fascinated in playing Patrick to ask the question, how does somebody not only survive but thrive in this time? And exploring how Patrick can have two different personas, like the public persona in which he can achieve his ambitions and be respectable within that society, and then exploring the private man, the vulnerability, and someone who, like everybody, just wants to, you know, find love and beauty in the world.
I think it's something that really drew me to Marion was that complexity, because especially in like what she ends up doing. I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil stuff, what we're doing with that, but we're all here. The decisions that she makes, and that really intrigued me because I feel like I had to really think about like how to justify that myself for her. Obviously the time she was living in, I think she was such a product of her time and the society that she was functioning in, but also what really fascinated me was like her youth, and I really had this sense of her as like that first time you fall in love and the intensity of feeling that you experience, and then the fallout from that can leave you feeling so hurt and so fearful, and the fact that she was acting from that place and that driving her to do some of the things that she did. So much complexity to work with. But then the great joy of this like friendship and the love that they all have for each other. And I think it's also rare to explore a love triangle where all those dots are joined up so equally. And I think that within the trio, they all have their own dynamic. And I thought that was really rare. And it gave us a lot to work with.
You know, people live entire lives in very small bubbles like that. And if that's how you've been brought up, and everyone around you and the generations before you, your parents, etc., have all lived within that kind of small bubble, it's obviously very difficult to even picture the world outside of that. So I think when he meets someone like Patrick, who is well-travelled and likes art and finds himself kind of being curious about those things, it kind of just sparks this it's kind of like feeding his curiosity, that it's not kind of strange for him to be curious about stuff. And then I think him with Marion, he also finds ultimately a friend who is the most accepting of him. And I think that's why kind of regardless of whichever way you kind of think on their relationship, I think their friendship is incredibly real and loving and tender. That is the one thing that none of us can control. So I think the whole story being about this wasted time, and I think, going to the end and where, you find Linus's characters, it feels like a brief moment of acceptance, which feels really wonderful, but it's also still kind of laced with this devastating, if we were just, braver, we wasted so much time. So I think there's just complexities in every part of the story, which I think is what makes it so interesting, is that every piece of joy, even though it's very real, it's kind of laced with this other side to it. So, I'll stop talking now.
Well said.
Okay, so now you know a little bit more about the film. It's called My Policeman. Harry Styles acting once again. Don't Worry Darling is going to be released, I think, just before this one. It's also going to be shown at London Film Festival in October. I love Emma Corrin and I have high hopes for this film. I'm hearing really good things. Let me know in the comment section what you're thinking. And I'll be back soon with more videos. Take care. Bye.